Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Metta sitting practice. Last week on Friday, I showed this list that I had. Let's see if I can bring that up again. Is that it right here? So again, this idea of, how should we say, doing a Abhidhamma class, so looking at the different mental factors. Mental factors, we could say, well, how should we say it? That includes quite a lot. Mental factors can be emotional states, certain actions of the mind, certain ethical components. It really talks about a lot, so to speak. Here we have this, the 52 mental factors at a glance. And this was taken from right here. Bhikkhu Bodhi is the editor, the comprehensive Abhidhamma manual. Does that come up? Is this read backwards to everybody? I'm just noticing that I might have my screen flipped. Either way, I was talking about it last week on Friday that these are things that we could potentially start to work with. So here we have, we got the universal mental factors, we have the occasional, the unwholesome, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought what might be interesting, talking about the context of metta practice, is look at what's referred to as the beautiful factors. Beautiful states of mind, so to speak, that can be cultivated. So faith, mindfulness. So faith is that sense of, not necessarily believing in something that is difficult to substantiate in a material world, but how should we say, faith in terms of that earned trust within the practice, within the Dharma. The more that we go through experiences and the practice is there for us in a supportive, refuge, transformative way, the more this earned trust comes into place. So being able to experience that. What is the experience of this? So also, how should we say, in terms of understanding the mental factors in this way, can we access or cultivate the subjective experience of it? So mindfulness right here, that's definitely something that we're working on all the time here. How is it that we can be increasingly mindful of the different experiences of mind, body, feel tone, etc. Shame in the sense is, working with, if we're acting out of line with our ethics, that sense of kind of like, it's more of like a guilt, more of a sense of, okay, this is a motivational factor for me to get in line with my ethics and values. It's not so much a shame as like the way that we would really regard it in terms of having a very poor core self-concept. It's more of a motivational factor to really stick to our guns with our ethics. So the fear of wrong, non-greed or generosity, non-hatred or kindness. Yeah. So the neutrality of mind. So that's more the equanimity. See here, it feels like we're going more into metta qualities here, even though they're, non-greed, non-hatred is not that very inspiring. A lot of times in Pali languages, they'll have a particular word, and if they add an A at the beginning, it just means the opposite of the word. So oftentimes in the Dharma, you might see something translated as the opposite of, so non-greed, well, kindness, or non-greed, or generosity, non-hatred, or kindness. Neutrality of mind, tranquility of mental body, tranquility of consciousness, lightness, etc., etc. So these are qualities probably down here that we can look at in terms of the shamatha. So we can see how really the metta and the shamatha and kind of the ethical component all really kind of works together here in terms of the beautiful universals. So what does that mean? When we are in a state of being um, that feels somewhat positive, that feels somewhat pleasant, that feels wholesome, skillful, these qualities would be there. So this is us turning the camera around 180 degrees when we notice or are aware that we're in an awake, balanced, metta-based, um, wholesome state of mind. These qualities will be present. So just taking a little bit of an Abhidhammic lens to working with the metta qualities. So this is stuff that we've been doing thus far, really. We've been cultivating metta towards, the self, the loved one, the neutral person, and so on down the line. We've been looking at it in terms of like jhana factors, spaciousness. So this is really just another particular, you know, slight differentiation of a lens of looking at some of these qualities. So I just wanted to put that out there as a way of conceptualizing, kind of cultivating particular states, and also, really being awake, aware of what are the conditions that we create, what are the conditions that we're cultivating that can create some of these mental states, and what is really the subjective experience of them like. And the idea is that once we notice and understand a pattern, the more available it becomes as we go out in the day. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of an intro to kind of like the Abhidhammic theme that we might kind of take on this week a little bit. As always, yes, I'll be doing guidance. Guidance will sound pretty much similar to what we've been doing thus far. But before we go into it, any questions about anything?
The Abhidhamma is intense, Mike. It's difficult.
You've been playing with it yourself?
Well, when I took your class, I remember I used the text, I forgot which one it was, translated by a lady, and she narrated it. And
Uh-huh.
and there were times where I just wanted to pull the car over and blow my head up.
Are you talking about this book?
Yes, Buddhist Psychology. Yes,
Yes,
yes, Beth
Jacobs,
Jacobs.
original Buddhist
It's
psychology.
just intense. It's just, I mean, I found myself rewinding it. I don't know how many times, and I'm done. It's intense. It's intense because the minutia and change.
Mhm.
There's so many factors, but they all bleed really into one. You can sew them together. They all go into one another.
Yeah,
Um,
sure do.
so it's they're not really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's where it becomes a blur. It's nebulous.
Mhm, mhm. It's
It's
kind of
sort of
like,
like when you start meditating. We each pull factors, a little meta, a little. Our combo is it's like 3 scoops of ice cream, but they all blend into one if you let it, right?
mhm. So
So
there's something to be said about the emphasis, or it asks us to cultivate an increased sensory clarity piece for sure. We're really kind of getting clear about experiences, and the subjective experience of attempting to gain clarity is a lot of working through a lot of nebulosity and a lot of groping around too. So thank you for that. Yes, there is a very common response of wanting to blow your head off. But again, can we look at it through the lens of play, of experimentation? And so again, it's not about perfection, it's about growth and learning for sure. Cool, thank you for that. All right, let's have everybody come to a comfortable upright position. Allowing yourself to straighten up and settle in. Settling into the body, the posture. When you arrive at a place of stillness, get in touch with an intention to maintain stillness. And as well, settling into awareness. What is that quality of brightness, aliveness experienced in the mind and body? Can we settle into that? We can begin to open up towards the breath. Or, if you prefer, to ground yourself, lean into the shamatha qualities by anchoring your attention to external sound. Whether you're working with the breath within the body or sound out in space, just attune to the spaciousness, flow like qualities available, and tuning yourself to whatever is pleasant, gladdening, and balancing. Whatever internal talk or internal imaging, try to allow that to be in the background. So, whether you're primarily leaning into breath or sound, what is pleasant about that experience? What is grounding about that experience? Allow yourself to feel that response of the nervous system settling. So, any sense of dropping of bracing or tension, allowing yourself to appreciate whatever is enjoyable about that experience. And so looking at that quality, the Abhidhammic mental factor of non-hatred. And also considering that with the metta quality of kindness. So in a way we could look at, is there any aversion? Any of those hindrances of aversion or carry this aversive flavor to it, just recognizing where those may be within your experience. How you may be responding to what is. And can we lean into any qualities that are opposite? That is to say, the kindness. And so as we're leaning into just exploring whatever aversive qualities may be present, can we meet that with an experience of kindness? Kindness towards our own experience. Kindness towards our subjective experience here of breath, sound, being in the body, being in space. So there may be a little bit of effort involved in attempting to choose this kindness response. And also if we're sussing out or feeling into whatever aversive qualities may be present. Just like heat directed towards ice begins to melt it, or warmth directed towards cold water may begin to warm it up. The aversion may be there, but we're meeting it, applying this kindness towards it, which may begin to shift or change that aversion that may be there. And since we're efforting, it may be a little difficult. Sometimes we can use certain prompts to help us, whether it's bringing an image to mind of something that makes it easy to contact the metta qualities, a pet, a loved one, what have you. Or for some people are more auditory, where they can bring in some metta phrases. May I be free from harm, may I be free from suffering. May I know happiness, may I know peace. Whatever metta phrase works for you. You don't need to bring up a visual or a phrase repetition. You could just work it out in this awareness of the body if you wish. whatever works for you. These are just options of ways of working. And to whatever degree the kindness is present, how does that influence the experience of mind, the experience of body, just the faculty of awareness, brightness, aliveness? Meeting any qualities of kindness with this openness, this willingness to feel through, how that might help to sustain or perpetuate this metta quality of kindness. If it wants to expand, allow it. And also this quality of neutrality of mind. Neutrality of mind, we can link that up with the metta quality of equanimity. So regardless of what comes up in our experience, be it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, be it inside or outside of the body, be it more of a bodily sensation or an aspect of cognition or mind, can our response be a neutrality of mind, a quality of equanimity, just an openness and acceptance, the mind not being disturbed? So can we lean into this quality of acceptance? How is that felt in the body? And there's this neutrality, this equanimity. What does equanimity feel like in the body? And there are those moments of equanimity that arise in the mind. It's the mental state of equanimity. And qualities of openness, ability to experience the moment as it is without preferring it to be different in any way. Regardless of our preference in one way or another, the moment shows up how it is. What is the experience of accepting, being neutral, equanimous about whatever arises? How is that felt in the body, experienced in the mind? So if you find yourself getting lost, spacing out, you can come back to your initial contact of breath or external sound as a shamatha. And then notice what it is that you're experiencing. Is there any aversive qualities? Is there any struggle within your experience? Now, meeting that all with this kindness tends to melt the aversion. Meeting whatever arises with this equanimity, neutrality, tends to neutralize the struggle. So, from moment to moment, we may fall into aversion and struggling. And from moment to moment, we may fall more into the kindness and equanimity. Just be awake for that process. Right before we fall into aversion and struggling, what's going on? How are we creating those conditions? before we open up to kindness and equanimity, what's going on right before that? How are we creating the conditions for kindness and equanimity to take lead? So, moment by moment, we hit the mark and we miss the mark. We hit the mark and we miss the mark. And that's good. That's the learning process. We just try to stay awake to it and observe what it is that we're doing that creates the conditions. For falling into the hindrances or opening up into these meta qualities of mental factors. Okay, at ease, everybody. Post-bell practice, allowing yourself to still remain open to what you've generated. So what did you notice? What did you observe? What was your experience this morning? So we're just working with qualities, just the particular metta qualities of the kindness and the equanimity. And then part of it was just noticing this back and forth. Sometimes we're noticing the opposite qualities, so the non-kindness, and sometimes we feel a little bit more kindness. Or the non-kindness, the aversive qualities. Sometimes we feel a little bit more of the struggle, and sometimes we feel more of the acceptance or the neutrality, the equanimity piece. So part of it was just about just flopping back and forth between noticing and also the sense of, well, what is it we're cultivating? How is it that we can try to be cultivating one side, the kindness and the equanimity, but very subtly we're kind of cultivating an aversive state of mind, or cultivating a degree of struggle or resistance. So just wondering what people's experiences were with that interplay, so to speak.
I noticed, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I don't have my earphones, but I guess one thing I did notice was just kind of this insight I had after actually I stopped and you were talking, is that there was a struggle for me. There was like these conditions in my mind of things I wanted to get done this weekend that I didn't get done. And then just some ideas about how things need to be. I want things to be that aren't. And then it was almost like that was my happiness was sort of like attached to those things. And kind of this aversion to, if I let myself feel happy, then I won't be motivated to do these things that I need to do. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was like
is something to be delayed until you've earned it, or it's the need for that happiness becomes a motivational force to become productive.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good insight, because I really was kind of wrestling with it. Like, nope, you can't feel happy. You're not happy. You're not happy because of these things. But then there was this happiness there, kind of, that I was like, wow, there's, kind of wrestling with that. And interesting kind of insight.
Do you think that happens outside of just this particular circumstance? Would you say this is a larger pattern for you?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'll have to ponder it more. But yeah, I do think it is a larger pattern.
So there's the options of, you can either be this unhappy person that's clearly motivated to get things done. You give yourself little treats of happiness here and there after you've earned it. Yeah. Or you could just allow yourself to be happy, and oh my goodness, there goes the to-do list. That's the fear, right? Of allowing yourself to be happy.
Yes, well, then that's the fear. And the fear too, yeah. I mean, it can kind of spin off the fear. Like, then you won't work, you won't see clients, you won't, whatever, you'll just won't pay your bill. I don't know. I could spin way out on it. I can feel myself right now. Like, what? You can't go that way.
I wonder what that would be like if you allow that happiness that is there to come in, and then allow yourself to find another motivating force, and then be able to engage in this work while having this increased baseline of happiness.
Yeah.
Very cool insight.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Yeah. Anybody else? What was relevant for you today?
So, Mike, if I may, I was thinking, because I always think of when I start with healthy, I always say radiant health. I qualify it as if, because there's something beautiful about just sort of emanating health from every single pore, every single cell, radiant health. But when I come to happy, I think Fernell screwed that up for me with that song, because I'm so happy. So I always think of joy, and I think joyous. I think I also love the word. I remember those cards that said, may you have a joyous new year. There's something about joy. And then I thought of sympathetic joy. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we all got like a debit card with sympathetic joy? And the only way you can bring it up to its level again would be if you find joy in somebody else's joy. So it's not just about you. You would have to, in other words, the only way that card gets filled would be if you found in the day-to-day sympathetic joy in a creature, a bird, a dog, anybody else's joy. But that's the only way you can get joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking about that in the meditation, going, yeah, I wonder if I can spend 1 week, not just for me, not that sense of like, I want, unlimited joy. Hey, I'm happy and it doesn't matter what you, no. The only way I get joy is if you get joy. I get it's like a bad agent, but I get 10% of your joy. Every time I see somebody smiling, I'm like, okay, I got my 10%. And it goes back to, I was hearing a lecture yesterday about, the first transmission of the Buddha was when he was holding up the flower and smiling. And the first disciple, I can't remember his name. Right.
Yeah.
Who like looked at him, smiled, like I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, by the way, you're the first one. I pass on the transmission to you. And it's a little bit of that. I think sympathetic joy is a little bit of that. When you watch kids play or something, you just go, oh, wow. You can't help but feel joyous.
There's something to be said about that. I think that
Yeah.
you're on a good trend there. It's like we can work for the joys of getting our circumstances in order, having our to-do lists completed. So it gives us the sense of the illusion of what's the word I'm looking for? Stability. Um, but yeah, that can be just very much like our own kind of crowded joy, and there's that sense of kind of, if it's just my own, there's this kind of hoarding quality that is just naturally unpleasant to it as well. So to flip the script, but to be able to just experience that sense of joy by just continually getting these kind of contact highs from just experience of other, whether it's like you said, the laughing of children, or just seeing somebody else just gaining some kind of relish or enjoyment in their own life, to be able to kind of open up your heart to kind of take some of that in. That just continues to allow us to be able to open up and derive that joy from more subtler and subtler experiences. The wind, the light, the temperature of tea. So then it, like all of life, well, not all of life, but a significant part of it becomes something that can, yeah, continually add to that debit card of joy.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, well, let's end on that note. We've come to the top of the hour. So can people do that for the life practice homework? As you go through the day, just how many contact points of joy can you take in by witnessing it from others, or from just basically our sensory experience as well? Okay. Let's do a dedication of merit. By the merits of these acts and other such virtues, may we attain a liberation for the benefit of all beings. We bow before those who have come before us on the path, and to those who come after us on the path. Thank you so much, everybody. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Hope to see you all tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Hey, did Nicole take anybody to Colorado? Because I didn't go. She didn't
Sorry
take
about that.
anybody. Wow. Wow. Not one of